Hi there, it's Nicole here today with a couple of stenciled scene backgrounds created for the brand new Dog Lady and Cat Lady Leading Ladies Essentials by Ellen's Stamps and Coordinating Dies, brand new for February 2018. And I thought it would be fun to show a couple of different ways to create a custom stenciled background scene perfect to showcase these leading ladies. We definitely want them to be the stars of the show, and stenciling creates a nice one layer but still very dimensional looking background for these images. I'm going to start with the My Favorite Things Drifts and Hills stencil and some Lucky Clover Distress Oxide ink, and ink up the bottom of my background. This is some Nina smooth white cardstock. The Distress Oxides work beautifully on this cardstock. They're going to blend great. Normally, I wouldn't probably try blending. I guess I'm not really blending, but they'll stencil great. I wouldn't really use my Distress inks on smooth white cardstock because sometimes it can be kind of a trick to get a nice seamless application, but the Distress Oxides work beautifully, especially with this technique where we're using just a little ink. We're really starting on the stencil itself and then moving that ink just barely off the edge. Next, I'm using the My Favorite Things Cloud Stencil to build the cloudy sky. So this first scene is going to be for the Dog Lady. She's going to be standing out in the lawn with this beautiful blue cloudy sky with her little dogs and some of the accessory pieces. I did go ahead and take a greeting from the Dog Lady Leading Lady stamp set and stamp that to the right because the way she's aimed, I kind of felt like that was the best placement. For my second background, I'm going to take a piece of Post-it tape and mask off a little section down near the bottom. I'm going to say it's probably about 3/4 of an inch. This time we're going to take the Tim Holtz bricked stencil and some Fired Brick Distress Oxide ink and pounce that through the stencil. I'm not really rubbing, I'm doing more of a pounce design. Because this won't cover the entire front, I'm just going to simply kind of keep moving it over until I fill the entire background. Both backgrounds are A2 sized, meaning they're 5.5 by 4.25 inches. Once I have my brick background, I'm going to pull up that Post-it tape and just switch that then to cover up the bottom edge of the brick wall and apply some black soot Distress Oxide ink to build my sidewalk. Then I'll take another couple pieces of Post-it tape and just kind of darken a couple little areas to help with that feel of a sidewalk. I will peel up all of that then, and there is a brick wall and a little sidewalk for my second scene. This is going to be for the Cat Lady. Again, I'm going to take a greeting, this time from the Cat Lady Leading Lady stamp set, and stamp that to the left. There are my two backgrounds. Next, I did go ahead and stamp my images from the Cat Lady and Dog Lady stamp sets on smooth white cardstock using Onyx Black VersaFine ink. This ink is going to work because I'm going to do some colored pencil coloring rather than Copic marker coloring. If you were going to choose to use alcohol inks, I would recommend using an ink for Copic coloring, but the VersaFine ink is fantastic if you're going to do colored pencils, or if you wanted to do some coloring with Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers, something like that, you could use the VersaFine ink as well. I'm going to go ahead and color in all the images for the Dog Lady card first. I love colored pencils and blending with Gamsol. You're going to get a really smooth application this way. Much more like what you would expect with Copic markers. So you're going to lose a lot of lose the pencil lines anywhere you use the Gamsol, which I really like. I want it to be very smooth. I love colored pencils. They're probably were my first love with coloring, and then I moved on from there. So it's really fun to revisit them. I've been using them a lot lately. I know a lot of my viewers have asked for more cards with other color mediums, specifically colored pencils. So I love to kind of show some ways that you can use them to get some fantastic results. I am going ahead and applying my colors, blending with Gamsol, and then if I still feel like there needs to be some more blending, whatever it might be, I like to go back over with my colored pencils, usually the darker ones, to add more shading and shadowing and things like that. And then you can always choose to blend them out if you need to or not, depending on what look you're going for. Next, I'm doing her little red cardigan here. I definitely went with primary colors for the dog lady. She's standing against a very primary background with the blue sky and the green grass. So I wanted to draw attention to her. So she's got lots of pops of red here. With her cardigan, there's going to be a red color on one of the dogs, some little dog paw prints stamped in red, and then a rainbow striped dog food bowl. I decided to keep her t-shirt white, but in order to do that and be successful with Copic markers, I would probably use some very, very light, cool grays or warm grays and blend those out just to get that shadowing. The same kind of idea applies here, just using a light gray marker and then blending that out with Gamsol. I decided to do some little red tennis shoes, just kind of kept them a little bit lighter red than her cardigan. I did pinken up her cheeks a little bit, and I'll be adding some finishing details once I have all of the images colored and cut out. One thing that I kind of forgot, and it doesn't bother me a lot, but if it does bother you, I would recommend with the leading ladies, especially the ones that are kind of interactive like the cat and dog lady are here in these two new sets, they have elements that die cut out, so their arms can hold the dogs or the cats. I would recommend maybe die cutting the images first. I always forget because I'm one of those who usually colors and then die cuts, and I told myself not to forget, and I did. So I would recommend die cutting them because those die lines, if you want the white outline instead of the colored outline, because that arm goes across the body, so our natural inclination is to color that in. I would recommend die cutting first and then coloring so you can avoid that area and have a white outline. There are a couple places that I wish I would have done that, but overall, I really loved how the images turned out and I didn't want to redo them all, so I went ahead and left it. But if that bothers you a lot, die cut the leading ladies first and then color them in. So I've colored a brown puppy and now a black one. I love that you can do these in any color. Whatever you want to do. I think it would be super fun to mix and match these as well and do a card or cards with both dogs and cats. So many great ways to use these. Maybe just use the critters. Use the leading ladies with other accessories from the other stamp sets. There is nothing about these two gals that say you have to use them with the dogs. So maybe they are holding some camera accessories or baking accessories, whatever it might be. There are so many amazing leading ladies now. I just love them. I think they are so super fun. Maybe take some of your other leading ladies and incorporate them into your pet themed cards. Just mix and match to your heart's desire because there are so many great ways to use these. Now, once I have the dog elements colored in, I'm going to take the coordinating dog lady dies and die cut all of these little elements. And then I'm going to pop them out. I like to use a little Post-it tape to hold them in place as I run them through my die cutting machine. This helps me be able to die cut many of the elements with one pass of the machine. Next, I want to lay everything out and make sure it's all going to fit and work together kind of the way I planned on it. I usually start a card by laying everything out. I did that in this case as well, so I knew kind of where to stamp my sentiment, where everything was going to go, how many accessories I needed. But I always like to double check before committing to adhering anything to my card. And you're going to see I'm going to switch the ball and the dog dish around in the finished card. Just, I think it flowed a little bit better this way. Then I'm going to take a black glaze pen and go over eyes and noses on both the dogs and the leading lady. I'm going to take a white jelly roll pen and add some little highlights to certain areas here and there in the design. I'm going to add some little stripes to the cuffs and the hem of her cardigan to add some nice detail. I love that these are such a great size that they're perfect for really embellishing. I am a huge fan of taking pens or other markers or whatever it might be when you're kind of at that final stage of creating your card and dressing them up a little bit. So just adding little highlights here and there. I will take a fine tip black pen once the black that I've used to color over the eyes has completely dried. It does take not a real long time, but I always worry about smearing it. I've done that in the past. So once the eyes have dried, I will take a fine tip black pen and add some little eyelashes just to kind of dress her up a little bit more. Even taking that white pen and adding little highlights to the tips of the noses, which I've gone over with a black pen as well. That always makes the eyes and noses really pop on critters. This panel is going to fit the entire front of an A2 sized card. So I'm going to take my adhesive and go ahead and place that all over the front of a top fold card base. Pop my card right down, and you can leave the corners square, or I decided to round them with a 1/2 inch corner rounder, kind of just softening the whole look, dressing up the edges. If you want, you can take additional greetings from the dog lady or cat lady, depending on which set you're working with, stamp set, and maybe finish off the inside. So here that's going to say, always happy to see you. And then I'm going to add some little dog paw prints with Lawn Fawn Lobster red ink. Add those all over inside the card. Just kind of dresses it up, adds a great finishing touch to the inside of the card. And then I even added those to the front of the card right underneath the stamped sentiment on the front. And that will finish up the dog lady, leading lady card. Let's move on to the cat lady. This one is the brick wall with the sidewalk. Again, I'm going to color in my images, die cut them all with the coordinating dies. I went ahead and left the coloring in. I know a lot of you are big fans of watching the coloring and kind of seeing the whole image come to life. I am too. I think this is one of the most fun aspects of card making, is kind of just watching it all come together. I usually almost always start with skin and then hair. In this case, I did do the skin, but then I skipped on to her top, which I didn't want to pull out a whole bunch more colored pencils. So I'm going to stick with the same red color combination that I used for the cardigan on the dog lady. But this time her whole top's going to be red, and we're going to do like khaki pants instead of denim pants. I like to do my darkest color first. It gives me a really good guide of where I think the darkest color is going to fall on the image. And then I generally will go back in with my mid-tone color if it's a large area like this, and finish with my lightest and just kind of scribble that color all over. When you first apply the colored pencils, they don't really look all that great. What looks good is when you take the time to blend it out, whether you're using a blending pencil or Gamsol and a stump pencil, because look how smooth and beautiful that looks. The tunic is really cute left as is, or I am going to, once I have die cut this, I'm going to make it polka dotted, because just like the other card with the dog lady, I love those finishing details and elements. Adding stripes or plaids or polka dots, whatever it might be. It's one of my favorite things to do to colored images like this. So here are her khaki pants. I need to color in her hair, and I decided to do a little bit darker than the last one, or at least that was my intention. I really think the hair kind of turned out the same. Maybe it's a little bit darker than the other one. I pulled in a little bit more of some lighter browns with the first leading lady. But I also didn't use Gamsol with the first one. Her hair was a little bit straighter. This one has a little bit more of a curly design, and I did the hair for the first leading lady more like I would do Copic marker coloring, and it worked out great because I think you still get that hair feel. I started that with this leading lady, but with curly hair, I struggle with it a little bit more. So what I did was blend it out and go back with my darkest color and add in some of that texture to really help out. Now, again, I forgot to die cut her prior to coloring. And I kind of knew this, but I decided since I'd already done it with one of them that I would just do both of them the same way. But I went ahead and started die cutting some of the elements. I wanted to kind of see how they would all work. In fact, I stamped more than what I actually ended up using for the Cat Lady card, simply because I just kind of felt like I didn't need one of the elements, which is fine. I can save that for something else. I colored the cat with some of the grays, same grays I used for the dog. I'm going in and adding that polka dot detail to her top, which is just a really fun way to dress it up and customize. And I also added some color to her shoes, making them kind of gray with red accents. I have left the other cat that she's going to be holding in her arms, the ball of yarn. I already colored in the little mouse, and then the little toy, which I'm going to hang the mouse from the little toy thing, almost like she's playing with her cats. So I'm going to just grab some of those same browns. Again, very, very similar to what I used for the dogs. The only difference here is one of my favorite things to do for cats is I like to get a nice base color, and you'll see me do this a lot with Copic markers as well. And then I'm kind of doing a little tabby design, doing some little stripes here with my darker markers on top, and I'm not going to blend those out. I want that texture for the cat. Using some wire snips scissors to cut all of these little pieces apart. I'll run these through my die cutting machine now, and then I can go ahead and put my final little scene all together, and my dog lady and cat lady leading lady cards are all finished. I hope this has inspired you to create some cards with the new Essentials by Ellen leading ladies, cat lady, and dog lady stamps and dies. Please visit the Ellen Hutson classroom for more information. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.